Welcome to another Mindmaxing podcast. And I'm delighted to have Kimberly Rutigliano here with me. Kimberly and I have known each other for many, many years, and she's a dear and good friend. And we've had also the privilege of being able to work with her over the last several years at SMU. Kimberly is the managing director for SMU Global and Online, a newer title, and I've had the opportunity to watch her grow in many, many roles at SMU over the last 4 or 5 years. But welcome, Kimberly, and we're here to talk about just people's reflections on what's been going on and what they see happening in the future. So I'll start with the first question, which is, it's been a heck of a year, having a chance to reflect on that. What are some of your thoughts about this past year?
It has been a heck of a year, Lee, and I try to keep the positive in with the negative. I think for many people it was a hard year, and I don't want to disparage the suffering from the pandemic in any way. But I think for me, this was a good opportunity to slow down and to remove some distractions from my life and to think about what really matters. And we aren't all labeled essential employees, but I think on some level we all had the chance to get down to what was and was not essential. Mm-hmm. And so I've been healthier this year, not going out, and in avoiding COVID-19, managed to avoid the flu and strep throat and all kinds of other things. And I've had more time this year, taking a commute out of my life and working from home for a good portion of the year. I had more productive hours, really focused on family, since I didn't take business trips or see friends in the way that I would have before. I think that personal experience is mirrored in my professional experience in terms of those essential tasks that needed to move forward.
You're just saying that. I just published a blog today that was titled, let me tell you the title. It was Rethinking What We Consider to Be Essential.
So you must be in my head, Lee.
That just came out today. So, taking that idea of rethinking or, getting clear about what's essential, how do you see that applying to higher ed? How do you see that applying to SMU?
One of the things that I saw at SMU was a real focus on the student experience. I think in higher ed, we're always loath to call our students customers because that creates a dynamic that's a little different than the traditional educational paradigm, but they are customers on a certain level. And I think the student experience became paramount. It was that higher education is more than just what you learn in the classroom. It's how you evolve as a person and that time in your life, and really trying to do the best we could to give a well-rounded educational opportunity to our students while keeping them safe was really the focus.
Great. And so after musing and thinking about this for the last several months and making your plans for this spring semester and summer, in the short term, what are some things that are going on that you're planning to do or you're intending to do or that you think need to happen in higher ed?
In the short term, I think that we got a huge push up against the naysayers of online education. That can be both a good thing and a bad thing. At this point, a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we were spending most of our political energy fighting the idea that quality education could be delivered online, or that a teaching experience could be rewarding online, or that certain types of courses could effectively be taught online. We got to short circuit all of those arguments because we didn't have a choice, because they had to. But now that everyone has had to, we run the risk of the other side of the pendulum, which is anyone can. And so now our new objective is to push that the other way and say, you can do this, but let's not do it in an emergency remote instruction paradigm. Let's be thoughtful and planful and robust in the way that we continue doing this going forward.
I think what you said about now, because everybody can do things with online delivery of education, the quality and the student experience definitely could, it's all over the place. And so I think you're on a really interesting point, which is how do we help people who may either, whether they're naysayers or not, or may not have experience, how do we help them get to a level of a success bar or quality bar for student experience with an online experience? So in more cases than not. So great. So in terms of the, thinking of COVID or this experience that we're all still going through, and we don't know when it's going to end, but it will eventually. What in the long term do you think, will change and not come back, or will change, and happen that was not happening before? So.
I think one of the things that higher education may be least prepared to accept or to deal with is that things will never be the same. On some level, we're all very excited to get back to normal. Everyone wants to get back to normal. And I do too. Of course, we want to have some of the vestiges of our regular life back, but there are some creature comforts that we've picked up in this online time that I don't think we're going to let go of so easily. So yes, students want to come back to the real classroom, the on-campus classroom. But just like those of us who had the luxury of working for home for a period learned how nice it was some days to not get out of our pajamas or to not have to commute. If a student's not feeling well, I think they're going to have expectations that they could log into class from their couch. Or if a faculty member has the opportunity to travel, I think we're going to have expectations that they could do that lecture on Zoom. And it's the one-offs and the convenience factor that isn't a steady plan that I think we're the least prepared to deal with. Setting up a straight hybrid mentality is one thing, but being able to offer the flexibility and convenience that people have become accustomed to is a much more complex problem to solve.
You really hit on something for me. I travel, as you know, or have traveled a lot in my career, and I'm going to really have to think about whether or not a trip is really necessary. And I think people have also become very capable in doing things on Zoom or having a conversation like this and feeling like it's okay. Like that's a reasonable thing to do. I know I sort of poo-pooed WebEx and Zoom in the past, and I definitely have embraced it now. So well, are there any other thoughts longer term or closing thoughts that you have about just the trend of things right now, or things specifically at SMU?
I think the trend of things is positive. I just hope that we have the stamina to run the race. I think at its best, if we continue on this trajectory, the place that we're leading to is to address issues of access and equity, to widen the net of who can attend college, taking off, obvious things like childcare, or transportation barriers or those sorts of things. But quick fixes aren't as long lasting, and real change in a university environment takes longer than many other industries. And so it's going to take patience, and it's going to take determination to continue to take these lessons learned and build upon this momentum and get to a place where some of the greatest outcomes can be realized, because I don't think those outcomes will be realized in 2021, maybe not even in 2022 or 3. There's a long road still ahead of us. This is only the beginning of that journey.
Great. Well, I want to thank you, Kimberly. I've really appreciated our friendship and our professional relationship, and thank you for taking the time today to join us on a Mindmaxing podcast. So,
thank you, Lee. I love working with you too.
Thanks.